I went to just check to see how much gasket is left on the engine block, and found this, which looks a lot like JB Weld or some sort of putty inside of the engine bay. I'm not sure what that's about. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Piston Head Productions. My name's Jacob, and on this week's episode, we're finally getting into this BMW build. I know I promised it a while ago, but obviously with everything going on, the weather being terrible, me working like a dog, just haven't had time to really dig into it. So now I got lots of time. I got nothing but time. Nowhere to get parts, not a lot of money, but we're gonna get to that. This entire build is meant to be super low budget. I want to use a lot of the parts that I've got sitting back in bins and stuff like that. There are a bunch of things that need to get fixed, so maybe we'll go through that list right now, the things I want to work on, and then we'll actually start digging into it finally. Okay, so right off the bat, there's a few things that I got to work on. This intake hose is completely destroyed, so we've just kind of held it together. The car does start and run, but there's a huge leak in here. It's after the MAF, so that's causing it to basically run, it'd be lean because there's air coming in after the MAF, so there's more air coming in than what it knows about. I also noticed last night this fan is hitting on the rad. I don't know if you guys can see it, but you can hear it. So I got to figure that out. I'd like to get a new rad for it anyways, because these things are notorious for overheating. Get rid of the clutch fan, switch to electric fans, just better cooling in general. These BMWs in general are known for overheating. But from what I've read, this engine, because of some weird metallurgy shit, if it overheats, it's pretty much done. So I want to do that. I want to pull all the spark plugs out, check them to see kind of the health of this engine. It does seem to run decently. What is all this? I want to get into the suspension. Somebody's put coilovers on this. You can see that they've got it kind of cambered in. I'm assuming to get a bit more steering angle out of it. It is a steering box style, not a steering rack, so our angle setup is going to be limited. I also have to clean it out still. So you can see it's pretty messy in here. I still got to clean all that out. But the other thing that's causing a pretty serious issue is the fact that the seat just moves by itself. So whatever locking mechanism, that needs to be fixed. And yeah, so those are kind of the main things right now. I do want to build an e-brake, like the little, I need to get the thumb thing, I don't know what you call that, but basically to hold e-brake on. I don't think I'm going to put a hydro in it because I did test this out in the driveway and it does lock up the back brakes pretty well. So maybe I'll just build one of those like extender things so that way I can really get that up. What is this back here? Oh, hello. Oh, it's just take the boot off. Okay. So want to do that, kind of go through stuff like the electrical system, make sure the windows are working. I would love to get the cigarette lighter working so I can charge things, use the tire inflator. Maybe see about the speakers. There is a deck that's in it. I don't think there's any speakers left in the doors, which it doesn't look like. So maybe I'll try and find some speakers, mount them somewhere in the back there so we can have some tunes. Oh, there are back speakers still. Okay, so there should be some music. So yeah, I don't know, just make it a fun drift car to kind of party with. So that's the plan. Go through it all, see what's working, see what's not working, go from there. I also need to take the wheels off, check the brakes, see what they're like, grease some steering components. So the main thing, I'm gonna get this hood off to make it easier to work on. I did turn the car around so that way I could have this light directly above the engine bay. And yeah, so just go through the car, see what needs to be done. Okay, never mind. I'm already over it. There's like wiring that's in here, but I'm not entirely sure what it's going to, and I don't want to cut it because I don't want to short stuff out. I'm wondering if it's like there's a washer pump or something built in behind it. I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't know. There's just wiring here. The connectors are like buried. I can't reach up to get the connectors there. I don't want to take all this shit off, so I think the hood's gonna stay on for the time being. I can work around it. Let's see how long that lasts before I just get aggravated. So what I'm going to do instead is I'll take apart this intake, see if I've got any tubing to fix that. That's kind of high on the list. You can see just like it's not even on there. So I'm hoping between all the random tubes and stuff that I've got something to go in there. I would really like to get that fixed up. This part here, obviously it's pulling air. I'm wondering, do I need that? Can I just put a filter? No, because it's pulling air from there into the engine. So if I don't connect it, then it's going to be lean. So I still need this connector. So that's going to make life fun. Unless I somehow have another tube. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what this is doing. It looks like it's injecting extra air of some kind. I'm sure I could look it up. But yeah, so the intake that I'm going to have to use will need that too, because it's already metered that air going into the engine. And if I bypass it and just put a filter on it, then it won't have metered that air. So that'll be interesting. Okay, well, I'm going to take it apart anyways and then see what I got and go from there. All right, so you can see just kind of how mangled up this is. You got it all taped. Yeah, I'm still not sure what that valve does, but it's a gigantic solenoid. You can just see, based on the wiring that's in there, you got power, ground, and a trigger wire. But that's a gigantic solenoid. They make them so much smaller now, but big old Bosch boy. I guess this is why German cars are built so well, because holy cow. Oh, look, something disconnected that probably needs to be connected. Lovely. All right, we'll figure out what the hell that is. Can't be... It's got to go somewhere in here, but I'll get across that bridge when we get to it. So, yeah, hopefully I've got something that'll kind of fit over that intake. I'm really hoping, but I guess we'll find out here in a second. And it looks like that throttle, kind of the stopper there for the throttle cable is broken. So I'm curious if it's even opening all the way. But why is it closed right now or open right now? Yeah, so that must be for like cruise control or something like that, and then your main throttle's here. So that's what I'm thinking, at least, because like how many throttles do you need? You know, we've got one here, we've got two cables here. One's going all the way over to there. Like, I'm not sure, I have to do a bit more reading, but like how many throttle plates do you need? You're just restricting airflow. So that might just get removed. I don't know if that's going to increase any horsepower, but it might just get removed. Okay, so my options here are either to try and source a new one, which I might be able to get eventually. But this tear, like this is the, this is the issue here. So because of this tear, it doesn't want to seal properly. I had it taped up before, but it just kept kind of flopping off. I don't have any couplers with this particular size. I also am worried about this, so this might be something I'm gonna have to try and find on the used market or something like that. But I've got it torn apart for the time being. I don't expect to be driving this car for a little bit, so that's gonna go on this table full of parts, which I'm sure over the period of today is gonna get super full. Next thing I'm gonna work on is start pulling these coil packs and checking these spark plugs. So I'll probably I might as well pull all of them and just see what we're working with here. So looks like this will be interesting. I gotta love BMW and all their weird connectors and shit. Like, you know, I mean, you couldn't just use anything basic. You gotta develop your own connector system to pull this off, to hold this down. It is what it is. This is realistically is my first foray, whatever. First time doing BMW stuff. So let's see. Come on, focus. Okay, so this is what we got for spark plugs. They actually don't look too bad, other than being absolutely covered in oil. So that makes me think that the valve cover is leaking pretty heavily. The car does leak a ton of oil, and that is on my list of things to fix. But I didn't want to start fixing leaks until I got the car running properly. So it looks like it is running a bit rich. And I am probably going to order some more spark plugs. But all together, that bank doesn't look too bad, so pretty happy with that. Like I said, other than leaking a ton of oil. So I'm thinking that this valve cover is just pissing it out. So that'll be on the list of things to do, but it's not going to be high up just because I don't want to, like I said, crack into something without, one, getting a new gasket kit for it, and two, if the car's not going to run right and other things are still issues, then there's no point in fixing a valve seal or a valve cover seal. So I'll probably put these just back in loosely for the time being, put the coil packs back on, and just finger tight, and then that way I can order some new spark plugs for it and see if that helps anything. Okay, spark plugs on the other bank, pretty much the same story. Looks like they're burning a little rich, soaked in oil on the outside, as you can see. The actual head itself, it's hard to tell, but the head itself was dry, just the actual plug. So that valve cover gasket is also leaking like crazy, so that's something that's going to have to be addressed once again. I'm going to go through it all and see, but I'll probably order some new plugs. They're going to be cheap, and I'll see about a gasket kit for it. If it's cheap, I'll just do it. It doesn't look like it's that difficult. There's, you know, X amount of bolts, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, shouldn't be too bad. Pull that off. See what it's like. I can even check the valves or check the cams while I'm in there and just see what they look like, if they're all worn out or not. But I'll put it on a list of things to do. Okay, next thing is going to be figuring out this rad. So obviously the bottom is sticking out way too far because that's not good. So I don't know if yeah, I just don't know. I got to see if it's got coolant in it as well. That I'm not sure of. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see. I might just, like I said, pick up a new rad. This thing is super loose, like not even in there. So no shit, it's hitting stuff. Fun fact, it has coolant. It is full of coolant. I didn't think it was, so time to get a bucket. Well, that's why the rad was sitting weird, because this whole rad support has been pushed up and forward. Now, I will say, there is a chance that was from me. This car sits incredibly low, so I'm thinking that's why that's sitting the way it is. But a little bit of hammering, brute force and ignorance should get that thing back straight, but I'm pretty sure that's why it's hitting, because if you see it, it is bent to shit. So that's probably why the rad doesn't want to fit. So that needs to be fixed. This car sits so low that, okay, you can probably see a little bit better from there, but yeah, it's right bent. So I gotta bang that back into place. I dump coolant everywhere as per working on cars tradition. I think that's a must. The other thing that I noticed is that the coolant temp sensor, not connected at all, completely screwed, so that's got to be fixed and repinned, which I am not good at, so that'll be fun. So yeah, put that on the list, that way at least I can tell if this thing's going to overheat. The AC is still in it. I don't know, I might just disassemble that, take that all out. Might as well, I guess, just cut the lines. I mean, drain it properly in accordance to pollution standards. Anyways, this also lets me see that it is pissing out oil. It's leaking out oil from the oil pan. It does look like somebody has tried to fix that in the past. I don't know if you can see that, but there's some red gasket sealer. So I'm probably going to drain the oil out of this thing too once I mop up all the coolant and then reseal that oil pan. Maybe I should take the fan off while I'm in here. I'm not sure how difficult that's going to be, but I'm sure I can pull the pulley off just fine, but actually just detaching the fan is going to be a bit more of a process. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so just dropping the oil out, and one thing that I did notice, which is kind of cool, is they vent their alternator, but right next to that, that's an engine mount. That's not supposed to be like that. So I think somebody's pulled the engine out of this at some point in time, and didn't put the engine mount back properly. So that's fun. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that information, but as you can see, this thing's been leaking oil for a while. I'm going to pull this pan, I think, and clean all that up and redo it. And there's an oil sensor thing right over here. Yeah, right there. We'll have to see what that's about. What else have I found? Looks like the lower control arms seem fairly new. Yeah, other than that, not a whole hell of a lot going on under here. So, drain the rest of the oil out and maybe pull this oil pan. I don't know if I'll do it today, but definitely need to pull the oil pan and clean up all those gaskets because that is gross. Okay, so oil pan is off. My other camera died, so I'm going to have to just kind of stick with this. So you can kind of see where the RTV is kind of broken down. It looks like there is an OEM black gasket that's in here. And then they've tried to kind of go above and beyond that, which can help in some circumstances, but obviously something's going on here where it's bleeding through. So where exactly, I'm not sure. It just seems to be pretty much everywhere. The other thing I noticed is they obviously stripped one of the bolts because that bad boy was sitting in the place of one of them. So that's fun. So I'm going to clean all this up, maybe take that OEM gasket back out and maybe try and reseal it with the RTV. This is red RTV. This isn't the right stuff. This isn't the right stuff. It should be black, if I'm not mistaken, black or gray. So unless you guys know otherwise, I thought the red stuff was meant for like super high temp, but either way, this all has to get cleaned up and then try at her again. What I learned is this is a metal gasket set, and it's got the little rubber rim in there. I thought it was one piece because of just how much shit was caked onto it. So this rubber's completely screwed now. I gotta do some research and figure out what can be done about that. It'd be nice to have one of those little gasket wheel things. I don't have one. So that means, I don't know what that means. I'm gonna look up some stuff, see if there's anything chemical that I can put on it to help strip it off, maybe some acetone, I'm not sure. But it looks like this has been reused a couple of times. There were some of these that were actually just like a black rubber that would sit in there. So from what I've read, it's kind of a common issue with these to leak. But once again, I don't think red was the correct one. I've got, there you go, Optima Black Gasket Maker High Flex. I believe that's what it should be using. Either way, this is just a hot mess. So this all needs to be cleaned up. And yeah, so I might be ordering some parts to get things rolling again. I'm gonna do my best to clean this up and then see where we are from there. I went to just check to see how much gasket is left on the engine block, and found this, which looks a lot like JB Weld or some sort of putty inside of the engine bay. I'm not sure what that's about. I think that's like a drainage spot. That tube there is like a drainage tube to drop back into the oil pan. I could be wrong though. But either way, it's just full of JB Weld. So yeah, I'm really not sure how long this engine's even going to last, which is super interesting. Yeah, so that's fun. Question is now, do I even keep working on this thing? Because obviously, if it's that kind of fucked, do I really even want to invest any time into it? So I figured I'll leave the question up to you guys. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. After seeing that, after seeing JB Weld in the engine, do I even order a gasket kit for it? Do I do anything? Do I just seal this bitch back up with RTV, hope for the best, expect the worst, nuke it on the track, ruin everybody else's day because there's going to be a giant oil slick all down the track? I don't know. I don't know what to do at this point. The rest of the car seems all right. Maybe I'm thinking just nuke the engine, throw something else in it, maybe build like an old school big block or even a Chevy small block, like carbed, real easy, real simple, no electronics, plop it in there. I don't know. I have no idea what to do at this point. This is supposed to be just a fun beat the shit car, but yeah, we'll have to see. So that's about all I'm gonna get to today. I'll finish cleaning up this oil pan. I kind of wrap up the bottom end, maybe throw a bag over some saran wrap or something just to kind of keep it from shit getting in there, although does it even really matter because it's full of fucking JB Weld anyway. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Should I keep going? What should I do? I'm kind of at a loss for words at this point. Yeah. So thanks again, guys, for watching. Make sure to check out everything Piston Productions. Check out all the links and the dealies and all that shit, and we'll catch you next time.